Hi guys, Trinity here today. So, what I wanted to do is tell you about a deck that I picked up yesterday that I think came out in 2014. This deck I had seen on YouTube and the internet over time, and I did not pick it up. When I ran into it in a metaphysical shop or online, I kind of skipped over it because the box originally drew me in. But when I would look up the images on the cards, there were certain things I didn't care for that didn't resonate with me at the time. But we grow all the time, we change, and we have things that make us just change our minds about who we are and what we're comfortable with. And at that time, I just think that I was not comfortable with them, and it just didn't resonate with me. The deck that I got is called the Chrysalis or Chrysalis Tarot. I'm not sure if they pronounce it like that. It's by Tony Brooks. First of all, I am so glad that I wound up grabbing this deck. I immediately, when I got it home and I opened it, was glad that I got it. So let me show this to you. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but I'm going to do a review on it anyway. Okay? These are the beautiful backs. These beautiful colored butterflies. Mandala in the middle. It's just, these are one of the prettiest backs I've ever seen. First of all, let me just say that. Okay? Originally, I was a little put off by some differences because I like Rider-Waite-based decks. And this went away from that because it's more or less, I think it's meant to stimulate the third eye. Okay, so first I'm going to go through the majors. And there were some other changes that in the beginning they kind of made me uncomfortable, which is why I wouldn't purchase it. But after I decided that I was comfortable with it, I wound up purchasing it, and I'm glad I did. So, they changed a lot of the names in the majors, okay? Like, we have Merlin, or the hero, for the Fool. If you go in the book and you start reading the book first, which is what I did, I was like, oh no. They changed, like, every major name except for, like, 3 or 4. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable with this. But, they pretty much give you the real names for it anyway. So, with no further ado, let me show this to you. This is the Chrysalis Tarot. And while the imagery is greatly changed and the name on the bottom, okay, we are still looking at a very well thought out and beautiful deck that is more from the spiritual realm. This is one of my favorite cards, by the way, of the Empress. I am certain that you guys have seen this deck online. I know that there's a lot of other videos on it. Okay. One other thing I'm going to mention is when you come to Justice, if you're used to traditional Rider-Waite, okay, you're going to see with Justice, it's normally card 11, and Strength would be card 8. In this deck, they flipped the switch and switched them around. Originally, in Tarot, this is how it was. Justice was 8, and Strength was 11. And they had done things the way they did it before for numerological reasons, where now it's more astrological. We have it the other way around. In other words, for astrological reasons, it fits better if Strength is 8 and Justice is 11. Anyway, that's how most decks are set up. This one, they changed it and went back to the original way, which doesn't bother me in the least. I don't mind that at all. I opened these cards, and the backs right away I fell in love with, and I was like, okay. And in the past, when I looked up the images, there were some things about the minors that bothered me a little bit. But when you start to read the book, and you start to get that the meanings are not meant to be like Rider-Waite, okay, you may, I guess you really got to read the book, to be honest, because when you, it's just a little white book. Okay, I'm going to shove this in front of the screen for a minute. It's a small white book like you normally get. It's not the big thick book. I'm not quite sure if there is a big thick book on it, and there may be. But I was expecting like more Rider-Waite-y feel. And it does have a little bit of that in there. But it was meant to go another way. And I guess it's more along the lines of spiritual and divine guidance. It's just a little different. Love this card. This was the image on the box that drew me right in. It pulled me right in. I'm so glad I picked it up. I kept shying away from it, and now I think I'm finally ready to really understand the tarot in a different way. Now, I did read that for the World card, Psyche is Greek, and it means, because I was reading about this at transformation in Greek, it means transformation of consciousness. Okay. Let me make sure that's right, actually. I'm sorry. It's solar butterfly in Greek. Okay. I think it's very fitting. So, okay, without further ado, because our video is getting a little bit long here, let's just take you real quick through the minors. Now, here's our switch off. See the green tones? Stones is pentacles, okay? So I'm just going to let you know that. I won't make this an overly long video because there are a lot out there in describing the cards, and I will say this. One of the things that put me off when I would look up the imagery on this deck before I was about to purchase it was because my comfort zone was Rider-Waite and Rider-Waite based decks. It's not that I can't read anything else. It's that I just felt like that was where my comfort was. Okay? My comfort zone, I should say. However, I realized that you can jump out of your comfort zone from time to time. These would be cups. Mirrors are cups. You can see a little bit of the blue feel to these, and the water theme behind the mirrors. Okay. I'm not going to go into each card and explain what they're getting at, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one reason is, well, first of all, I don't want to make this video like all the rest of the videos on the deck where, you know, like I'm explaining each card, because you can look up in the book. There's an app you can put on your phone for this deck. Spirals is wands, by the way. Two, I want you to have your own take on what it means. Sure, look at the book. Get the idea that the author was going for, but also try to look and use your imagination and see what you see in each card. Okay? And by the way, the card stock is great. In my opinion, the card stock is great. I haven't shuffled them yet. I just bought them, took them out of the box. I didn't even go totally through the guidebook. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay? Spirals to me, it's for wands, but spirals to me would mean lots of energy and ongoing, constant, moving energy. And the reason I say that is if I associate it with when I go out in the woods, okay, like if it's a symbol just printed on a wall, okay, it's not really moving. But if you use your third eye, it is. Spirals, to me, think about a vine growing in the forest, right? It never stops growing. It just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Or wrapping around trees, bushes, whatever. It doesn't stop. So wands, to me, would signify like a vine just growing, passion, energy. It just keeps growing, growing, growing. Movement, constant movement. And that's just me. That's not anything I read about the deck. It's just my opinion. And you may feel a different way. Lastly, we have scrolls for the suits, and this would be swords, okay? To me, like this raven would represent communication, messages, the intellect, and the scrolls representing the swords. It seems fitting to me. I think these are very, very, very beautiful cards. And I could kick myself in the ass for not getting them sooner. And, you know, another thing, some of my clients that are regulars that come to me, when they look at my deck when I'm reading for them, because they always examine my deck, they won't like some of my styles of the cards. Most people do. They'll compliment and they'll say things like, oh, I love this deck. Where'd you get this deck? I might try to get this deck, read for myself, whatever, whatever. But then sometimes I'll pull out a deck and they'll go, well, I'm not into that deck. Can you get a different one? And then when I start to read, they start to go, well, how did you see this in this card? And how did you see that in that card? And I know that this card means this. And sometimes it almost gets to a point where you're like, well, I'm reading the cards here, guys. I'm trying to get the messages for you that you need. You know, it doesn't matter what my intuition says, or just listen and, you know, roll with it. But anyway, okay, here we go. These are the court cards. Okay, so remember, the stones are going to be pentacles. And I'll tell you when we get to it. So that would be the king. Okay. I think it says it on the bottom. Yeah, it does. Like the artist is the queen of stones or pentacles. So just pay attention at the bottom. Okay. Like I said, guys, these are a little different than your traditional tarot deck. And they're very, very fun, cute. And one thing I have to say about these cards that just opened me right up. The colors just jump out. They're soft and pastel-like, but they're also very vibrant. They made a combination of like vibrancy and pastel type colors. They blended them together so well that it's not so bright that it's blinding you and it's hard to concentrate. It's very inviting, almost 3D-like. And for me, when I look at tarot, I really pay attention to the symbols and what the people are doing in the cards, the background. That's what draws me in, and you have to be pulled in by those things so that you can understand what they're trying to tell you. You don't necessarily need a Rider-Waite based deck for yourself to really get it. You know, this was the About Tony Brooks, About Holly Sierra card, and it comes with this extra card too. So, anyway, it's all about imagination and what your intuition is comfortable with. What stage are you in right now? What stage can you fit yourself in a comfort zone, and then are you ready to conform yet to something a little bit different? For me, for the longest time, I guess I just wasn't ready. Spirit was just saying, just put it down. You're not ready for it yet. But eventually I got to a point where I started to kind of stretch out of my comfort zone and figure out what was good and what I could deal with. And this deck is it. I think this is going to be one of my next go-to decks. Okay, guys, just wanted to show you a little review and my thoughts on the Chrysalis Tarot. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Love you all. Have a great day.